Hey everyone, welcome back. Thank you for being here. So about a year ago, I did a video on my H Pylori experience, and today I'm giving you the year later results and how I'm feeling, but also here to talk about SIBO testing, and some digestive issues that I'm currently still having, and we're gonna talk a little bit about that. So I hope you can take the time to really listen to this, especially if you're suffering with digestive issues, H Pylori, SIBO, anything like that. I think you might get some great information here. Now, before I go forward, I do want to say that although I'm sharing my experience, that does not mean it's right for you. At any time, you should never copy what I'm doing, because even though I'm a certified holistic nutritionist and health coach, I am not a medical doctor. And I do not want you to be taking what I say and mimicking it in your own life, because I don't know your health history, and I most certainly don't want you to hurt yourself. The gut is something that you definitely don't want to mess around with, and you do need to be under the guidance of a trained professional like a naturopathic doctor or medical doctor. Okay, so this is my big disclaimer. All right, so let's move along. So last year, March 2022, I was diagnosed with H Pylori. I had a lot of symptoms with that. I was very, very sick. I typically, of course, as a holistic nutritionist, I'm a very healthy person. I work out a lot, I do all the things, and this one day, I literally could not get out of bed, which was super abnormal for me. I was having a lot of nausea, a lot of bloating, constipation. I was having a pain right in the center point here that was not going away, and one day, I literally just collapsed in my bed and I couldn't get up, and I had to call my doctor right away, and we ran some blood tests and he found that I had H Pylori. So what I decided to do was go ahead and go on the antibiotics, because H Pylori is a great big beast. And I know that you can treat it, some people say, with like antimicrobials and herbs. And I do think that there is value in that, but my gut instinct told me that this was something that I needed to do with my medical doctor. And so I went ahead and did the antibiotics. I will say that the antibiotics were very rough. I had a horrible experience for 2 weeks. It was really hard to take because it made me even more nauseous. But nonetheless, I finished the round, and sure enough, I got myself tested thereafter, doing a GI map test recently and a breath test a few months back. And I'm happy to say that my H Pylori is officially gone and eradicated. So that is awesome. So the problem is, though, after I was quote unquote healed from H Pylori. So when I was healed from H Pylori, I would say back in June of 2022, I did feel a whole lot better, but being that I was on those antibiotics, it definitely took a toll on my gut health. And so alongside with my naturopathic doctor, I was on some heavy probiotics to re-inoculate the good bacteria in my gut that would have been missing after taking antibiotics, and some digestive enzymes as well for some of the pain that I was still having. And so that was fine for a little while. I did feel better. And then I would say in August of 2022, I started having symptoms again. And so I truly thought that this was H Pylori coming back. So my symptoms were really bad, IBS style symptoms like constipation, and then sometimes it would be loose bowels, really bad stomach pain, like knifing kind of pain in the upper and lower, extreme bloating. I'm quite fit and I'm quite active and I'm quite healthy. And typically I have a flatter stomach, but on the daily, even in the morning, my tummy would be bloated like I was 6 months pregnant. So I knew something was up, and I went back to my naturopathic doctor and was put on enzymes and some my antimicrobials like herbs to help maybe some of the bad bacteria just become balanced again. And I was on that for about 3 months, and I saw a significant difference. I was on berberine complex, and I was on black walnut, I believe it was called, along, like I mentioned, the enzymes and a quality probiotic, and I was feeling really great. So I was feeling really great up until December of 2022. And I'd say the beginning of this year, everything went down again. So I started with the extreme bloating. This time the pain was right in between my breastbone. The constipation got better. I started having really regular bowel movements, feeling really amazing in that compartment. But the pain was a constant in between my center, right in this area. It wasn't necessarily stomach, it was more in the upper area. And that was accompanied by bloating and oftentimes stabbing knife pains in this part where my pancreas would be. So I went back to the naturopathic doctor, and she kind of thought that perhaps I could have what's called gallbladder sludge, which is when the bile gets a little thicker and it just kind of gets stuck in that area as it's flowing. And so she put me on some herbs to help loosen up that bile so it can flow freely. I also went to my medical doctor and had him refer me to go do an ultrasound in my my tummy area to see what's going on. So they checked the liver, they checked the pancreas, the gallbladder, the spleen, and pretty much everything that needed to get checked in that type of ultrasound, and everything came out perfect. So there was no gallstones, no sign of inflammation, everything looked really great. So it was a little bit I felt good about that, but at the same time I was a bit discouraged because I didn't understand why I was having this constant pain. So my naturopathic doctor did tell me that sometimes in an ultrasound, gallbladder sludge cannot be shown or is not visible, but that a lot of people can have that. And basically gallbladder sludge is like the precursor for gallstones. And so you kind of want to work on that to prevent gallstones. And that does run in my family. So I decided to go on those herbs. I also did some liver support, and I started eating a lot more bitter greens, went back on my dandelion tea, and things seemed to be okay, but they weren't great. Recently we went on a vacation, and all through my vacation I had constant nausea, constant bloating, and I was honestly wanted to put my head against a wall because I just didn't know anymore what to do. And so I've gone back to my naturopathic doctor, and we discussed what this possibly could be. So from my symptoms, which were extreme nausea and bloating, she believes it could be SIBO. Now, SIBO stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And SIBO is actually a very common reason that many people have IBS symptoms, and it just goes undiagnosed. And the unfortunate thing about SIBO is that medical doctors don't really take it that serious. And so if you have symptoms like nausea, skin rashes, which I was having a lot of, especially in my upper arm, I was getting a big flare-up of eczema and hives and rashes, sometimes on my body as well, which is a sign of inflammation in the body. Very abnormal for someone who typically is healthy. So I knew something was up in my body, and of course the bloating was never ending. So my naturopathic doctor basically said to me the best solution now that we've kind of nailed a few different crosses is to check out if you have SIBO. So most recently I was given a SIBO kit, and I just did the test kit today actually, and I'm going to mail it back. So hopefully within 7 days I will get my results, and if it is SIBO, it is a big beast to tame as well. But you know, SIBO can be, I really encourage you to go research it for yourself. If it goes undiagnosed for a long period of time, it can really lead to a lot of different chronic issues such as hypothyroidism, scleroderma, other autoimmune conditions like arthritis and different joint pain, which kind of all fall into the autoimmune category. And I really don't want to go down that road because you know, if I can prevent it in some way, I will. And so one thing I'm always talking about with clients, but even with my viewers like you, is to take ownership for your health and don't take no for an answer. And if your body is telling you something doesn't feel right, to act on that and push and be persistent, be that squeaky wheel, and get your doctor whether it be naturopathic doctor or medical doctor or both. Sometimes I like to do both, to really guide you towards where you need to go next, and never take no for an answer. If that little thing in the back of your head is saying something doesn't feel right, that's your body telling you something doesn't feel right. So for me currently, I am waiting for those results. I really don't want to go on antibiotics again, because we all know what antibiotics do. However, if this is SIBO, I would much rather go on the antibiotics, wipe it out, and be done with it and restore my gut. And the beautiful thing is that your gut, like your liver, can absolutely be turned around and healed with the right environment and the right supplements and the right foods. So I will do what I need to do, and I'm very fortunate that I am working alongside with a really fantastic naturopathic doctor here in Port Moody. And if anyone out there is struggling right now, I would love to give you the information if you are local to me here in Port Moody, BC. Otherwise, I do recommend searching out and getting yourself, looking into who could help you with this. So currently right now, what I'm doing to tame my symptoms, and it is helping, is I am currently taking these digestive enzymes by Designs for Health. This is a very popular one, especially for SIBO. We are right now using herbs to treat SIBO because all arrows are really pointing in that direction. And one thing I didn't mention right now is I did recently, like a couple weeks back, do a GI map test. It did come back saying that there are 3 strains of bacteria in my gut currently that are not supposed to be elevated, and therefore they are causing inflammation in my body. And one of these strains in particular, my naturopathic doctor told me, is a strain that would belong to or point to SIBO. So the only way to know you have SIBO is to get tested. So I can't stress enough, even though you're listening here for information, I want to remind you again that you should really talk to a professional before diagnosing yourself and taking herbs or taking anything, because if you don't have SIBO, you could really ruin your gut. Or if you don't have certain things in your body, you could be ruining your gut. So you need to really understand what's happening, and the best way to do that would be a GI map test, or there's breath tests for like H Pylori, there's breath tests for SIBO, and these will really give you the real answer. And then you need to work alongside with a health professional. So I am showing supplements. I am not recommending supplements. I'm showing you what is right now in my life that I'm currently using, and I'm just telling you my story. That's all I'm saying here, okay? So these are the digestive enzymes that I'm currently taking by Designs for Health. And one thing we also found, and this is very common with people who have SIBO and H Pylori, is that my stomach acid is very low. And having low stomach acid is not a good thing, because stomach acid is basically there to help digestion. But also when we eat, if little critters get on your fork into your stomach, that stomach acid is there to dissolve it, break it down, kill them off. And if you have low stomach acid, these pathogens can get into the body and unfortunately can make their way and make a new home into your small intestine, where it shouldn't be, which is what SIBO is, or in that gut, where we definitely don't want these little villains to take place, because they will cause a lot of problems in your stomach. And I will say one more time that IBS symptoms very often are related to SIBO, and not all cases, but in a lot of times are, and it is a good idea just to get yourself tested and rule it out. The other thing I'm taking right before meals are these Canadian bitters, which I swear by. It's a tincture, and I just take a little bit in a cup of water right before I eat, or less than a cup of water. And it really helps, that's the French side. It really helps with digestive support. And I really encourage this one because it does work well, or it's been working well for me, I should say. And then probiotics are something now, if you have SIBO, you have to be careful that you're not taking just any probiotic, because probiotics for SIBO, certain ones that have like lactobacilli, for example, are not good for SIBO. they will actually make your problems worse, as will fermented foods. And there is research for that, and I would highly encourage you to check that out if you do have SIBO, or if you think you may have SIBO and you're still in the research stage and seeking help. So the one that I'm using is currently by Amy Myers, by the way. I would really encourage, if you have any inflammation or SIBO, for example, to check out Amy Myers MD online. She's a specialist with this, and these are her probiotics. They're called Primal Earth Probiotic. It's a soil-based probiotic. So this does not disrupt the stomach acid, nor will it go into the gut. It'll just stay in the small intestine, which is what we would want if you have SIBO, okay? So that is basically what I'm taking, along with some herbs right now that were given to me from a naturopathic doctor. And I'm just basically in the waiting game right now to find out if I officially have it. And you might be wondering, well, why are you taking all these things if you don't know if you have SIBO? And that's a great question. I know for a fact, because I took a test, that I have 3 bacteria in my gut currently that should not be there, or that need to go back down and stay on the lower level. And therefore antimicrobial herbs will help with that. And remember, I am having symptoms right now. I've got pain after certain meals. I have nausea, weakness, and belly bloating. And so those herbs are really gonna help, along with these digestive enzymes, to tame that little beast and put them down so that I can live a decent life without being in pain. Again, something you need to talk about with a naturopathic doctor. I want to also just lightly tap, before I close off this video, on how someone would get SIBO, because that's a great question. And I'm sure you might be thinking, like, how do you get SIBO, or how do you get digestive problems if you are in the health and wellness industry? Well, it doesn't really matter who you are. SIBO can visit you, so can H Pylori. The reality is that every time we eat out, or even certain vegetables or fruits, plant foods, we are exposed to bacteria. And like I mentioned, if your stomach acid isn't sufficient due to stress, typically, then those little critters can make a home in your gut, and long term that can create a problem. I also found a recent study that shows people who've had a surgery recently, C-sections, for example, which I did in 2020, are more at risk as well for possibly getting SIBO. And I already mentioned stress. So stress is also a huge contributor, because as we know, the gut and the brain are connected. And when our nervous system is dysregulated due to chronic stress, so chronic stress being things that are happening in our environment around us that maybe we are out of control of or can't control. Recently I've had a lot of different things going on in my life, in my family, and the health of some members of my family that I care about a lot. And it's been really hard. Even since 2020, I've been through a lot of chronic stress. And so after a while, that does take a toll on your body, no matter who you are. And I try my best each and every day to lead a healthy lifestyle through nutrition, exercise, and even taking that time out to do deep breathing, meditation, or prayer. But ultimately, if these things happen, it's something that you just need to deal with and understand that it is part of life. And, I really believe sometimes I get really frustrated, actually, because it's been almost 2 years of this. And I usually say to myself, like, why the heck is this happening? And I start having fear. Will this lead to long-term autoimmune one day? Because it can. The research is there for that. But I also think of it this way. By me experiencing this, it makes me a better practitioner when I help my clients, because if someone comes to me and says, I have all these symptoms, I can say, oh, have you ever had yourself checked for H Pylori, or for, gallbladder sludge, or SIBO? And then I can refer them to a naturopathic doctor, and they can get it checked out. If it's a no, it's a no. But I feel like knowledge is power, and sometimes these things happen so that we can be better educated, and then I can help and serve others. So I try and look at it on the bright side. I know that this too shall pass, and I'm just doing the best I can. And I'm super grateful that I am knowledgeable around this, and that I do what I do in my life, because if I didn't, maybe this would be 10 times worse. So it's all about looking on the positive side. If you're going through this right now yourself, try your best to see the light at the end of the tunnel. That's what I'm trying to do. Think positive, because this up here does communicate with your digestion, and you're already in digestive stress, and we want you to stay calm and balanced. And so just do the best you can each and every day, and this too shall pass. Remember, seek help, ask a naturopathic doctor, ask a medical doctor, get tested, and don't just self-diagnose. Don't just take supplements because somebody's showing you supplements. You have to do what's right for your specific body, and the only way to know that is to get tested. Thank you so much for listening today, and I hope I didn't bore you, but there was so much detail to tell. I really hope that whatever you're going through right now, you get to the bottom of it. Remember to be an advocate for your own health. If you have any questions about what I talked about here today, you can email me at info@andreasaliba.ca, or you can follow me on Instagram where I'm active daily, Andrea_Saliba.nutrition. Have a wonderful afternoon.